morning, everyone. Hope everybody had a wonderful day yesterday, and hope everybody's having a wonderful day today. Hey, Tommy, what's up? So, today we are back in some Space Engineers. Once I unpause it, I've been having some ideas and trying to figure out what direction I'm going to go in next with this. Last time we were playing, I was doing this room in here, setting up for the refineries and whatnot, and just getting this drilled out and set up. Currently, the two refineries that are in here are actually connected to the rest of the base. So, one of the things that does is it allows us to look into removing this big boy. For that, specifically, what I want to look at is I need to be able to remove it. And then I need to be able to reattach everything to the network again. So, this goes bye-bye. Slap a couple of those on there. God, I hope I have the parts. Otherwise, this is going to be real awkward. I don't need all of that. There we go. What do you mean that it stopped working for you? Like, there's a lot of reasons why something stops working, so, like, how did it stop working? Let's see. Okay. Let's head back here. And this is... Okay. I need... have you tried rebooting? And more specifically, when you go to start it up, does it start and then crash? Or do you just click on the icon to start it and then nothing happens? Let's do... well, what's the error message, and have you tried looking it up? Because typically, if there's an error, it'll give you an error number, and then you can try looking it up on Google. That's usually what I do. Let's see, let's get some of you in here. Okay. So you are what? 1, 2 back. And then that fills in all of that space. I need... Yeah. That, and then that. There you go. Problem solved. That's what we do here. We solve shit. Yeah, sometimes it's really ridiculous stuff. I've had error messages pop up where I go and I look at it and like that's an error that nobody has ever seen before. And then I get error messages that are as simple as you just need to change a value in a configuration file. Oh, okay. Thanks. Why couldn't that happen earlier? Components. I need some of you. Some of you. I need... Oh, you've already got some of that going. Okay. Okay, gotcha. Fair enough. Let's see. I need... Where did I put them? There they are. I need just the flat ones. Hey, what's up, Turnip? Sounds like the name of an 80s show. Like something you'd hear. Or actually, no, like an early 80s show. What's up, Turnip? And there we go. Now I just need this. Throw in more of the catwalk. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, no. No, that very definitely is a, and like, that's one of those things that tends to throw people off sometimes, is the fact that the naming convention that Windows uses for some of its stuff can be a little awkward. Well, mostly it's because of the fact that our processors have moved up to 64-bit. Like, what's the point of having a 32-bit operating system when all of your hardware is built around 64-bit or higher? I'm not 100% sure, but I think it OS. Okay. So we're not quite at the point of consumer level 128-bit operating systems, but they are possible. Yeah. Now, strangely enough, a lot of other countries outside of the US actually still do use, and in some cases, some local businesses will continue to use 32-bit technology because of the fact that a lot of older hardware still runs on it. When I was working at Geek Squad, one of the things that kept popping up was a lot of people would bring in machines that had to have Windows XP on them, specifically because of the fact that their business ran on that. The software that their business utilized, for whatever reason, was it had to have Windows XP. And this was at the point where Windows 7 was being phased out in favor of 8. So it's one of those that there were quite a few computers that still ran XP. In fact, I think today there's still quite a few that run XP, just because of the fact that the hardware requires it. A lot of them were businesses like sewing, seamstress sort of stuff, or just like the automated quilt makers, the sewing machines and things like that. But just all sorts of other types of hardware required having a 32-bit Windows. Hell, there were people who were bringing in floppy disks because they still needed them. And I was like, oh, that is so adorable. Awesome, but adorable. All right, you need that there. And it's God, I remember when my dad used to use cassettes to back up his computer. And not like regular cassettes, like you know, audio cassettes. These were digital cassettes. Like he had stacks of them. Yeah, that might, well, you do need both the x86 and the x64 versions of it. As there is some older software that actually still requires it. No worries. You're in the way. And you know, it's funny too. Back in the day, we hated having to do certain things. But nowadays, we're like, man, I kind of miss doing that. Like, there's a certain, I don't know. There was just this feeling that is gone now when all you have to do is double click an icon and everything just runs. God, I wish I could get rid of this cough. Okay, there we go. I don't think, and also I don't think we ever had the Atari 2600 in my house. I know we had a ColecoVision and we had a Texas Instruments console for gaming. But yeah, most everything else was just computers. We had an NES for a while, and then we skipped a bunch of console generations over the years. And then eventually we got an Xbox, like the big honking Xbox, which was actually really cool. Oh, I did have a PlayStation and I did have a Dreamcast. Dreamcast was nice though, because one of the guys that I had grown up with managed to get me a boot disc and then got me the bootleg copy of Dead or Alive 2 for Dreamcast. And yeah, we played the hell out of that game. God damn. I would love to get a 1 terabyte. Actually, no, I already have a 1 terabyte SSD. What am I talking about? I would love to get a 4 terabyte SSD. Let's clear this out. Yay. This might be fun. Make sure I don't damage anything important here. You know, I think one of my biggest gripes these days is just how much hard drive space everything takes up now. Like, it used to be that the 1 terabyte SSD that I have was more than adequate to get like 20 or 30 games on, at least. Now I can get maybe 4 or 5 games. Sometimes. It's like, I understand that game sizes are going to get larger over the years. Now, here's an interesting thing too. God damn it. So, Funcom, who are the developers behind Conan Exiles and Dune Awakening, when you look at the size of the 2 games, Conan Exiles is over 100 gigabytes in size. It is a massive game. Then you look at Dune Awakening, and Dune Awakening is at most 50 gigabytes. But there's about 6 to 7 years between the two in terms of release date. So the question is, why is it that Dune is so much smaller compared to Conan? And Ubuntu is one of those, actually, Linux in general is one of those operating systems that seems to just help older computers keep running. All right, let's get a little bit more of you. And I want... Oop. Yep. That goes there. There we go. No. Nope. There we are. And we get this in place. And awesome. This should help get me started, or at least get me ready for this side. Which, when you're coming down the hallway, the left side is going to be for the refineries. The right side is going to be for all of the assemblers. Sorry, it took me a second there. Brain wasn't wanting to brain. Which is not out of the ordinary. That happens way more frequently than I would like to admit. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. I'm just kind of winging it as far as the design goes, like I always do. I'm never 100% on the design until I actually start getting something put together. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that doesn't look terrible. Let's go back to battered. Let's remove you. remove those as well. But what I would like to do, and what I am slowly working towards, and hopefully what I will be able to get done today, is to go ahead and get as much of this mess out of the way as I possibly can, and specifically getting rid of a lot of these cargo containers, because what I would like to work on is getting some sort of rover completed, primarily for the purposes of just tooling around, but also so that way I can maybe go look at attacking some of these smaller locations to then loot them. I don't always want a ship to do that with. Sometimes I want, you know, like a rover. I love rovers. Rovers are the thing that I enjoy the most. But give me a second. Oh, no, that's funny. So, what was it yesterday while I was streaming? I had a couple of random accounts come in, and immediately we're all like, hey, I really like your stream. It's got good energy. Hit me up on Discord. And it's like, yeah, you guys are just spam accounts. Well, looking at it today, one of them got banned. The other one has not. Or it was going to get banned, but just didn't. And that's banned from Twitch. Yeah, I love those. They're like, hey, you've got great energy. It's like, dude, there's nobody here. The fuck are you on about? I need to add the lights. Yeah, because yesterday my stream was mostly dead. So it was really comical when they're all like, hey, I'm loving your stream. Ooh, okay. That's definitely, okay. There we go. Let's see how that looks from a distance. Sometimes I like to take a moment and just kind of look at how the thing is shaping up while I'm working on it. It gives me a better idea of where I might need to put, let's say, more lights, where I might want to add some more shaping, that sort of a thing. That's, I rolled down, not up. There we go. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so that's starting to give me a little bit better sort of vibes, if you will. We're vibing. So the next thing that I need to do is to grab... Here she is. Oof. Hey, how you doing, Dan? Oh, let's see. It's sometimes if there's a Windows update, it'll cause issues. If OBS updated, they just might be needing the newest version. Lots of different reasons why it can happen. Awesome. Glad to hear it, Dan. Let's see. Do I have... Here's the question. Do I have what I need? First of all, how much uranium do I still have left? None. Second of all, I think I might need to make a space run. Ooh, ouch. Ow. Now my chest is starting to hurt from all the coughing. Anyway, yeah, we need to go up to space and I need to get some uranium. So we're gonna do that. I love this ship. I need to go to space. No problem. Just point upwards. You're good. And then we'll see if we can find some. And really, no, that'd be great. Yeah, like if you could just go ahead and like FedEx me some, that would be awesome. Thanks. But no, I right now I'm not utilizing much uranium just because we're still mostly planet bound. Let's see. Some stuff down there. Okay. Drone X, there you go. Yeah, we'll get the Amazon drones to deliver it. But the uranium that I currently have, which is on this bad boy, I actually managed to collect from getting attacked by a whole bunch of enemies for a while there, which kind of annoys me. Like right there at the start, we were getting attacked pretty much constantly. It was like every 45 minutes there, I was getting attacked. Now, nothing. Kind of annoying. I was really, really hoping that there was going to at least be a little bit more in the way of attacks. But I think because of the fact that I went ahead and added created a faction. It's Amazon. They're a thing everywhere, whether we want them to be or not. That's pretty much how that goes. But yeah, ever since we created a faction and everybody got friendly with us, we're not getting attacked anymore. And that kind of defeats the purpose of what I was going for to begin with. Oh, I see. Okay. There goes the moon. Oh, that was good. Good coffee. Am I in orbit yet? I'm getting there. I love how fuel efficient these thrusters are. I know that they are way overpowered, drastically overpowered. And I'm A-okay with that. I am 100% fine with the fact that these thrusters are just like, hey, you're not using any fuel. Yeah, I know. Or very little fuel, I should say. And that's fair. Like, I know here in the US, in most, actually, I think it's federal, the FAA requires that if you are to fly or you're going to fly drones over a specific altitude or height, that you have to have a license for that. If you're just flying drones at a lower altitude, you know, like you're a hobbyist or you're just flying it around with your kids, that sort of thing, then it really doesn't matter too much. But if you start having drones that are over a certain altitude, you start getting into air traffic where like helicopters and small planes are going to be. That's where you need to start having the license, which makes a lot of sense. Can't quite tell which is closer, but that's okay. I don't need to. We'll just go and visit these guys and see if they have any uranium. Yeah, exactly. Which, what was it? A few months back when they were having all those wildfires in California? Actually, that was a while ago. But they did have an incident where somebody's drone did fly into one of the tankers, one of the airplanes. And it's like, why would you do that? And B, why would you do that? Yay, we're almost here. What do you have for me? What I might need to do is go ahead and boost the strength on the ore detector. Because right now I have it set kind of low. So ore detector. Yeah. Wow, I have the range way down there. Let's do 250. Cobalt and iron. Nope. Let's keep going. I guess we'll hit up this set of rocks first. And again, our main concern is uranium. If I find platinum, I'll probably grab a little bit of that too. Not a huge amount, but a little bit to kind of get our foot in the door. Probably cobalt or magnesium there. It's blue. Guessing magnesium. Nope, cobalt. And gold. Oh my. I could definitely see why you wouldn't want drones around urban areas all the time. Because that could create privacy issues. Hell, even over suburban areas. That's, I think, one of the other major issues that a lot of people deal with is that with cameras being so small and so easy to throw onto a drone, having a drone that you can just get really good footage with from a distance is kind of an issue. Iron and what else? Just iron? This is almost a really cool asteroid. Government's been spying on us for a lot longer than that. They don't need no silly drone. All right. What's down here? Have I checked this one yet? I know I checked those. How about you? Aha. And you'll have to forgive me for eating a lot of candy today. It kind of actually helps keep me from coughing as much. So, I generally think of it this way. If the government is spying on me specifically, then obviously I've done something to trigger their attention. And I probably shouldn't be doing that thing. Uranium. Bingo. Uranium. Awesome. I know there's iron here too, but I only care about their uranium. Oh, and it's right on the surface. I'm going to be able to collect so much uranium. It's going to be awesome. Absolutely, Turnip. No freebies. If you're going to watch the good stuff, you got to pay premium prices. Now, I will go ahead and give a government discount like every other company does. So instead of my normal rate of $20 for pictures and $30 for video, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut their costs so that it's $400 for pictures and $600 for video. That's a huge deal for the government. They really do, Dan. They absolutely do. Yeah, if they're watching me, well, first of all, it's pretty normal stuff. But also, I am so sorry you have to suffer through that, government person. But yeah, it is funny to consider the idea that you have your own government agent that's spying on you specifically. Like, it makes for a really cute idea. What was it, yesterday? Yeah. Yesterday, I had a great idea for a short story. Give me a second here. But the idea is that in the world that the short story takes place in, probably, but in the idea is that in this world of the short story, there's an actor who is reaching a point where they've been acting for a lot of years, and they're not like the most well-known celebrity. They're not like super A-list or anything like that, but they're fairly well known. But they're reaching the point where they're just kind of done with acting. They're done with being a celebrity. They're just looking to settle down and enjoy the rest of their life with however long they have. Could be 5 years, could be 20 years, doesn't matter. But obviously, with all the paparazzi and all the celebrity hunters and all that stuff that are out there, they can't just retire because everybody's going to want a piece of them all the time. Give me this interview, do that interview. Can I get a photo? That sort of thing. And so there exists in this world, as part of the Hollywood machine, a retirement agency. And essentially what they do is that when an actor is getting ready to retire, instead of announcing their retirement publicly like they normally would, They sign up with this agency. The agency will then start them out on a project or, something of the like. And then at some point in time, fake their death. And it could be anything from natural causes to a break-in gone wrong, car crash, any number of reasons or ways that a person can kick the bucket. They fake all the documents. They fake the corpse, everything. And that way, the celebrity can go ahead and go retire in peace somewhere. Sometimes the celebrity will even get plastic surgery so they no longer look like themselves. And that's why you have all of these celebrities who die young, because they specifically are like, well, I need to get out of this business for such and such a reason, so I need you to retire me. And then on top of that, the Hollywood system in the story is totally okay with this, because then they get the insurance money kickback. They're like, okay, that's fine. We get your money. You get to retire. Everybody's happy. And then, of course, it creates this whole, like, may they rest in peace. They died too young, or, whatever bullshit people say on the internet these days. But that was just the idea for the short story, was that it was just about this particular celebrity going through the retirement process. And then one day they're like, watching the news, and some sort of special comes up, like, in memory of so-and-so. But, like, what happens? And then at some point, maybe that causes the character to be like, you know what? I want to come out of retirement. I want to come back. So all of a sudden, you now have to deal with the fact that you've got this retired actor who's coming back. They're not actually dead. And that creates this whole new thing. And of course, all of these other actors are like, oh, wow, I could totally come out of retirement. But of course, they can't, because not all of these celebrities can do that. I just thought it was good. I thought it would be an interesting story. And it was specifically because I saw a short of Lance Reddick, who, if you don't know who he is, he played Charon in John Wick. He was the dude at the front desk at the Continental. So, but it just got me to thinking about how many celebrities we see pass away over the years, and over a year. Well, let's see. How much uranium did we walk away with? We've got 27,000, 30, 39,000, 40,000. Yeah, 40,000-ish. So that should be pretty good. Biggest reason why I stopped, though, is because I was seeing a red signal, and those guys do not mess around in space. They will screw you up hard. So I figured it was probably a good idea to make our exit. Yeah. God. Getting ready to rip the lungs right out of my chest. I don't need them anyway. Part of the problem is, as I'm talking, I don't know if it's causing like my esophagus to dry out or whatever, or if it's causing issues in my lungs specifically, because I don't know exactly, like I can kind of feel where the problem is, but I can't feel it all. So I don't know exactly, but every time, I'm talking for long periods, it starts causing the issue where I need to cough. And then of course I'd start coughing, which then makes my chest hurt. And then it's just like this feedback loop of suck. So it's like, damn it, I want to stop coughing. And the cough drops that I had were working great, but I ran out of the cough drops because I was, needed so many. But a big bag of them is kind of expensive. And it sucks. One of the problems with getting older is getting sick more frequently. Yay, we're almost back. This is the only problem with the whole space to planet thing, and especially when your top speed is 100 meters a second, is it takes so long to get back. Like, I kind of wish, and I kind of hope that they really do increase the top speeds for ships and Space Engineers too. Because this is the part that, as much as I enjoy, generally I do too. In this, though, I just haven't bothered. But as much as I enjoy going up to space and coming back, it is still frightfully slow. And I think that's part of the reason why, in some cases, more people don't play Space Engineers. That'll definitely be an increase in speed. There's two different mods that I'll typically use. One is unlimited top speed. So, like just whatever speed I want to go is whatever speed it'll let me go. And then the other one is relative top speed. Yeah, I'm on Steam, the Steam version. Hey. We're back and we didn't blow up. Oops. Nope, too far forward. Okay, now that we've got that, if we come down here, there we go. Those two are running. I need to get these two done up. Okay. I generally don't tweak those sorts of things. Mostly because if I'm going to tweak it, I just download a mod for it or run a mod. But also sometimes I do run vanilla specifically, especially if I'm going to be doing like a tutorial video. I need interior plates, which I have been neglecting my duties in uploading my VODs onto YouTube, and I feel kind of bad for that. Like I should be actually uploading them, but the past few days I just haven't really felt like it, is the best way to put it, because I kind of want to look at potentially doing something a little bit more. You there. And then you get the T-junction. Yep. There we go. And you guys, awesome. Yeah, I'm just not happy with that. I mean, I like the concept of having to get down in there, but I want something a little bit more than just... I'll figure it out eventually. There we go. All 4 of our refineries are now up and running and doing what they're supposed to. So, now that I have some uranium on board, let's see, I need... reactor. Okay, then. Just go ahead and make it. Ooh. Oh, no, you're just housing. No, uranium. There we go. I'll have plenty overall, so I'm not too worried about stealing some from my ship. There we go. Since this is going to be as valuable as just about any other vehicle that I have, actually a little bit more so. Yeah, there we go. Worth it. Worth all of the work. So the reason why I wanted this to get a reactor is because this little guy is going to be super valuable for clearing out some of these side chambers, because it is incredibly small and will allow me to dig out large areas effectively without having to use my personal drill. This is why I like to keep tiny little drill ships around periodically, because it really does just make life so much easier. There we go. Now this room I can make a little bit smaller, just because of the fact that I don't need as much space for assemblers. There we go. So already we've got a good start for this. Like I said, I don't need as much space compared to the refinery room. As for the refinery room, I think I am actually going to wind up pushing this down a little bit more to get like 4 more refineries in there. Let's see. Iron, nickel, silicon, cobalt, magnesium, gold, silver, uranium, platinum. I think it's just 9 total. Yeah. So 9 total of the ores to go through. So I could do a total of 10 and then set it up so that, actually, no, I'll just do 8. I don't need full 10 because I'm not setting them up with sorters. If I was sorting them, that would be different. And I've done that before. There was a particular playthrough that I did on Triton where I had an underground base and I set up a huge line of refineries that were all set with conveyor sorters that would specifically feed in the ore for each one. So one for iron, one for nickel, etc. And that was a lot of fun to set up, actually. And you could conceivably do the same thing for and in fact, I've done something similar. You could do the same thing for assemblers, where each assembler does a specific part, and then you have the assembler attached to... Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Always a good thing to know. But what you can do is you set up the assembler and a container and an event controller. The event controller watches the container. Once the container reaches a certain fill level, then it shuts off the assembler, and the assembler is set so that it is constantly running for one specific part. And so what winds up happening is that once that container gets under that amount, it starts the assembler back up. The assembler starts making all that stuff. And then once the container reaches that fill level, it turns it back off again. That is something that I did in my industrial overhaul playthrough, is that I had a whole bunch of machines that were specifically making individual parts. And it worked out surprisingly well. I did it sort of Factorio style, if you will. All right, let's drill this back a little bit more as well, because I'm going to need to send this, or I'm going to need to be able to push back more for the hallway. And then I also need to come down here. And I need to be able to come down here specifically for... Typically I do two. Right now I'm actually running Izzy's as well. For normal playthrough, that's what I would do, is just use Izzy's. But if I'm on, let's say I'm on a server that doesn't allow scripts, it's good to know how to automate that process. Or in the case of industrial overhaul, I wanted to do something a little bit different. In fact, I may revisit that playthrough at some point, because that was a lot of fun. Okay. I was smart and put a junction here. Cool. And clear you out. All right, so you get this. Why aren't you? You should be welding up, unless I'm short parts. Sometimes for giggles, I will actually go ahead and create a problem for myself to solve. Only because I have no other problems to solve. Or because I want to try something interesting with a particular build. That's the other reason why I do it. Oh, probably small steel pipes. Probably because I have no iron. Production. Speaking of problems to have. We empty. We are empty. Awesome. Whoops. Whee! I do love this area. It's really pretty. You've got the mountains kind of in the background. You've got this nice big sort of valley that's all grassy and trees and stuff. There it is. Let's get some of you. I need more iron. Wait for it to drop all this stuff off. Ah. There we go. I might have to do a couple of runs here for iron. In fact, I'm pretty sure of it. Yep. And we'll just back this up gently and slowly so that I don't accidentally slam something against the rocks like I did a while back. That was a huge pain in the ass to deal with, but that was also what prompted me to go ahead and put a projector on here with the blueprint. Now, it's not an up-to-date blueprint because I have changed it due to the drills. So I might want to take a new one specifically for this version of it. Oops, too far. There we go. Hold on a second, and I will be able to let you know. Currently, as of right now, I have 3,301 hours, almost 302. So, I've got a couple of hours in the game. Yeah, just one or two. Come on, pull that iron out. Ingots and ores. You get out. Nice. And it is probably, I'd say, top 5, top 6. Absolutely. Trying to catch up, always. Like, really, the only 2 games that have more hours right now. Actually, no. Holy crap. I now have 0.3 more hours in Space Engineers than I do in Warframe. So Warframe is no longer my second most played game. It's now my third most. So the only other game that currently has more hours played on my list than Space Engineers is Grand Theft Auto 5. And the only reason why that beats out Space Engineers is because I would oftentimes spend a huge amount of time. I would come home from work. Oh, hey, thank you for the follow there, Dan. Much appreciated. But I would come home from work. I would sit down. I would get really, really, really stoned. And then I would then spend the next like 5 to 6 hours just driving around and hanging out in GTA, and that would be it. Yeah, that I'm not surprised, honestly. I think a lot of us who played WoW spent way too many hours in it. Yeah, only 20,000 hours. Those are rookie numbers. I don't know. I really can't. I have troubles wanting to play World of Warcraft long term these days. The biggest issue that I have is the sense of wonder is very short-lived. And unfortunately, and I know this is silly, I know this is super silly, but it feels like the World of Warcraft has left its roots and become a little too modern. I played for about a month. I think, yeah, it was about a month, a few months ago. And it was enjoyable in the short term, but in the long term, I wouldn't be able to stick with it. But it just feels like over time, it just stopped being interesting medieval fantasy with a hint of steampunk. And now it's just too much. It's just too much, I think is the best way to describe it. It's no longer the fun escapism that it used to be. It's now a stark reminder of everything that I wanted to escape to begin with. I think that's the case with a lot of games. And it's a lot of the games, and this is, you know, I understand people like to see themselves reflected in certain aspects of their entertainment life. But at the same time, there is a point where representation becomes too much. When representation impedes upon escapism, you're doing it wrong. And so I think for a lot of people, and myself included, we're tired of seeing our escapism being turned entirely into representation. You know, I don't play games to be reminded of the things that I'm trying to get away with. I play games so that I don't have to think about that. It gives me a little bit of time to go, okay, I can kind of move away from this, decompress, and then when I come back to the real world, which I still don't want to, when I come back to it, I at least feel more prepared or more emotionally ready to deal with the bullshit. And so I think that's why WoW stopped being as entertaining for me. Why a lot of games stopped being as entertaining for me. Because it's a constant reminder of, there's the real world right there. Are you paying attention to it? Exactly. It is a stress relief. That's the point of the hobby, is it's meant to allow you to get rid of that stress. Now, granted, the games we tend to put ourselves into also create their own types of stress, but that is a self-imposed thing. That is something that we do to ourselves as opposed to somebody else doing it to us. And I think that's another huge factor in it, is when we play these games, it's our choice. So when I'm playing Space Engineers and I turn on NPC provider mod, or I turn on modular encounters and turn everything up to 100, and everything's shooting at me and I'm freaking out and I'm cussing at the screen and I'm just ready to like just rage quit, it's because I made that decision. And so because of it, at the end of the day, I feel more accomplished having overcome that particular set of events. But if I'm playing the game and I'm being told that I have to do it this way because this is the way it's done in the real world, well, then fuck off. I don't care. Go real world over there. I'm busy doing this stuff. Also, I need to shut this down. You there, info production off. There we go. There we are. And then next is the basic assembler. Okay. That's not what I was looking. That's what I was looking for. Off. Okay. Components. Oh, cool. Awesome. What's in you? What's in your wallet? Ingots. All of this moved out. There we go. Awesome. So little by little, we're looking at getting more of the base moved to the interior section, or at least deeper into the interior. And that's really what I'm after. I was just trying to get as much of this stuff moved out of the way as possible. Considering how much shit I used to put my teachers through when I was a teenager, I totally get it. That's one of those that teachers specifically, but a lot of people, everybody needs their outlet, their way to de-stress, to kind of zone out for a little while, to exist beyond themselves. Because without that ability, you might just go nuts. All right, I want... Let's see. I need to clean this out here. Thank you. And one of the things that I want to do for this, which is actually kind of one of my favorite things to do, so I might have to bring this back just a little bit more. But I love putting assemblers on advanced rotors and then having the advanced rotors slowly spin. There's just something really cool about that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to carve out some of this so that I can get the conveyoring back a little bit farther. But I need to make sure that I have enough room for the assembler and then also for the modules on the outside of it. Specifically, speed modules is what I will put on them. Because after a point, I don't need to worry about power. That part will be incredibly easy. especially if I get my hands on a nice big amount of platinum. Oh, hey, you've got a big old drill out here that you were using and you were complaining about needing. So let's do that. Clear out some of this. I should put some lights on this so that it can actually illuminate more of the area that I am drilling out. There we go. This is one of those little vehicles that I'm probably going to do a tutorial on to help some new players. Because oftentimes new players are just needing a little something to get them motivated into constructing other stuff. That's one thing that I've noticed is oftentimes new players will come in, and the biggest question is, what do I make? What do I do? And our answer is typically, I don't know, what do you want to do? Because we've been playing for so long, we've got so many hours in this game, that our idea of what do I need is, what do I need in the moment? Do I need a tool? Do I need a vehicle? Do I need a base? And so for us veterans of the game, we know what we need. So our attention focuses on what do we want. But for a newer player in the game, that understanding of need versus want doesn't exist yet. What they want is to play the game. What they need are the tools in order to understand what they should be building or what they want to be building. Sometimes it's as simple as, I know I want to build a ship, but I don't know how to build that ship, or how to get to the point where I can build that ship. And so by giving newer players smaller, simpler projects like the Oops, it gives them an opportunity to understand how some of the pieces fit together, and then gives them a platform on how they can make those pieces work better by changing them up. So in the case of Oops, this is basically just a battery with a bunch of thrusters on it and a drill. And then the basic gyro. Oh, I do have lights on here. Wow, Cruz, you're an idiot. Yeah, I do have lights on here. But basically, it's a tiny little ship. It does bare minimum of what it needs to do. It can collect some stuff. It can bring it back, and it can drop it off with this connector here. So it does the bare minimum of what it needs to do. But it is a good starting project for newer players to get into because it's easy to build and it's easy to customize or to change or to upgrade. That is another great way. One of the other great projects is being able to rebuild or reconfigure your starting escape pod into something that is actually useful as more than just your escape pod. Make it into a rover, make it into a new ship. But by designing small projects like this, it allows for players to better understand how to do the bigger projects. Okay, now that you've made the small little drill ship, make a bigger ship that can actually carry more stuff using what you've already learned. Because those are the next steps from make small drill ship is now make bigger drill ship. Bring more stuff home. But for this, speaking on that, let us here we go. I need to consider you there. I really got to stop saying boom in a game where explosions actually happen. An auger rover. So basically a rover that has a drill that you push down into the ground, if I'm understanding correctly. I mean, both are easy to do. Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely. Well, it must look cool. Funnily enough, one of the vehicles that I made years ago was a large grid rover that was a large drilling rig. Oh, gotcha. But yeah, it was super scary because when I would bring the whole drill rig up on the back of the rover, it would like wobble the whole thing. And so it tended to rattle a whole lot. It was just like, ooh, that's a bit rough. God damn. That is a heck of a ship. Let's bring this up here. This is currently what Dan is working on, which I like the name of it. That's actually pretty cool. But good God. That is a hell of a looking ship. I like all the pointy bits on it, though. Pointy bits are always awesome. As far as always need plenty of guns. There is a utility wrath that you can utilize to look up your blue screens. And I believe there's also the event log viewer. I'll have to look that up. Give me a second here. What version of Windows are you on, Wrath? Windows 11, okay. Windows 11 blue screen log viewer. Okay. Oh. Okay, so what you might want to do is, first of all, the best thing to do is to look up how to reboot into safe mode if you don't already know. Then there is a command that you can run from the command prompt and actually reboot into safe mode with networking. This is the key thing, and you're going to want to do this. Restart into safe mode with networking. Also look up how to use the command SFC, System File Checker. And I'll drop that in Discord as well here in a second. What that will do is, first of all, you'll be in safe mode, so you're running in basic Windows environment. And with networking, it typically allows the computer to also be able to connect to all the Microsoft stuff. From there, System File Checker is going to go through and it's going to check all of your system files and verify them against the default copy of Windows to verify that those files are not only legitimate, but aren't corrupted. And it will then attempt to repair them if they need to be repaired. Oftentimes that can fix those issues. But if you are getting a specific error message when attempting to update, then you might be able to look up that error message. It may also be an issue where your primary hard drive is either starting to fail or has general corruption on it, or you might also have a virus in very rare cases. So that might be something to double check as well. But yeah, lots of different ways that you can try and fix it, but definitely try safe mode with System File Checker. And give me a second, and that will look up. Restart in safe mode. Networking. And using the System File Checker command, aka SFC. Well, there you go. Malwarebytes is actually a really good one that you can run for free. And actually, Windows Defender is a good antivirus. Because it's built in directly into Windows, it actually runs a little bit better than a lot of the others. These days, you really don't need like a Norton or McAfee or Kaspersky or anything like that. And actually, Kaspersky is now banned in America, which sucks because it was a really good antivirus. But if you need a spot checker to just install temporarily and run, Malwarebytes Anti-Malware. And I'll send that to you as well. Anti-malware, whoops. Malware. As we used to call it, just MBAM. But that should be everything that you need to try and help out and try and resuscitate your computer, get it back up to running. And if it's still not working, then definitely back everything up that is important if you can. I recommend a good, like if you can find a decent one, a 3 to 4 terabyte external hard drive. They're generally not too expensive. And in that way, you can just back everything up real quick that you need that's important, and then do a reinstall or a refresh or whatever you need to do. But hopefully that helps out. But give me just a second. I'm going to take a quick AFK. I need to refill my water anyway. And I'm probably going to grab a snack. And then when I get back, we will do some more work on trying to get the machines up and running in here. And then also kind of figuring out where I want to put some more of the storage. What you can do for that, and actually in most cases, it's not too bad in terms of like being able to swap video drivers, but there are utilities out there for completely removing and erasing NVIDIA video drivers, or just video drivers in general. Let me see if I can look that up as well. GPU driver removal tool. Not dual, tool. Yeah, here we go. Display driver uninstaller is probably the utility you're going to want, and I sent you the link for that as well. And that will allow you to go ahead and just wipe all of the drivers off of your machine for your video cards. And in fact, it might not be a bad idea. And again, for that, I would go ahead and reboot into safe mode, as that'll just make sure that none of the video drivers are currently running. Run that, let it do its thing, and then reboot. One of the things that I would also recommend is just make sure that you have the latest NVIDIA or AMD, because I don't know what video card you're using, but just make sure that you have the latest installer for that ready. Oof. Okay, so that might be a hardware issue. Oh, wait, no. What wattage is your power supply? If you know. Because you might be running into a power issue. Because I know I had that happen years ago, where my power supply just, yeah. But yeah, that, like I said, since you upgraded your video card might be drawing more power than your old one. And so it might be what's happening is that as more of your hardware starts ramping up and utilizing more power, that the power supply is not able to supply everything, which causes temporary power outage, which then causes blue screen, which then causes major issues. I've had that happen before, and it sucks. But also, like I said, AFK, I'll be back in just a few. I need to refill my drink. But let me tea break, and I'll be right back. Alrighty. We are back. So, a little bit of bad news I just found out. I will not be getting a bag of meatballs today. My mom and sister were supposed to be going grocery shopping today because of my sister's work schedule changing slightly, but it changed slightly more, so they aren't going to go grocery shopping today. Sad. So sad. But that's okay. It happens. I'll be angry later. But for now, let's go ahead and get this done up. Stop my procrastinating, which is very difficult to do. There we go. And yeah, okay. So I want this. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I want one extra space here. Okay, yeah. I was trying to decide if I wanted the extra space or not, but I do. 100% do. Because the extra space will give me a little extra room to walk here. Actually, it won't matter because this is 3 wide. Yeah, no. Cruz, you're being dumb. I mean, that's technically nothing new. It happens pretty regularly. Just not this regularly. Actually, that's not true either. It does. You there. And then put the advanced rotor there. Get these in place. And I want this open just so that it's easier to get at the part. But the reason why you want to use an advanced rotor for this is specifically so that way it has conveyor access. A regular rotor does not. That is always something to remember, is that a regular rotor is just a rotor. It has no conveyoring at all. So we want this to stand up. Now, I want a velocity of something ridiculously slow. I'm also going to go ahead and give it some extra rotor displacement. 5 ought to be good. That way, I know it's always going to clear the floor. And then I want to name this, and we're going to advanced rotor assembler 1. Oops. That way I know that this is, when I'm looking at it in the list, an advanced rotor for the assembler, which is now going to be assembler 1. Absolutely. Like a record, baby. Right round, round, round. What are you? O2H2 gen. Okay. That's a speed module. One there. And then, whoops. And there we go. Now we have our first assembler that spins. I will probably set these up so that there's a total of 4 of them. Just makes life a little bit easier to do it this way. Awesome. And then I need you guys here. And I need girders for that. There we go. You are right there. Okay, got it. With this right there. You are across. Awesome. There we go. A little workshop area is starting to come together quite nicely. So, next thing to do is wait a minute. Where'd my actual assembler go? Oh, it's over here. I was a little bit worried for a second. No, we're fine. Okay, so that I can go ahead. This goes away. Hey! Control panel, no. Components. Go away. There we go. Okay. I'll be damned. Look at that. We are slowly starting to get more of this crap out of the way, which is the important part. The more of this that I can move, the happier I am. The next step, both of those are Space Pirate. So eventually what I need to do, I know, right? Don't be talking shit like that. Why are you so mean to me, Wrath? Why? Making it look like I know what I'm doing. Poppycock. There we go. Got it. But yeah. This is fair. I mean, you make a bunch of valid points, none of which I like, but they're valid, so I'll allow it. Let's see. You can go away. Goodbye. You can also go away. Oh, wow. What was it? What, Matani? Was that the old CEO? Man, it's surprising the stuff that I remember. Wow, I'm not... We tend to use the same names from game to game. Unless a name has been so poisoned. Oof. I'm not surprised. I mean, when you look at where Goonswarm came from, I don't think they were really ever in their right mind to begin with. Okay. You are off. Two. Acting up how? Also, here's a fun dilemma. Where do I put my new, or where do I put the camps? I think I want to kind of centralize them, but I'm not certain yet. That's fair. That is also why I do not PvP. That is so true. Oh, I see. Not Space Engineer's gyro, but the accelerometer in your phone. Got it. That one's outside of my wheelhouse. The only thing that I can really say for that is, which app? Screen on phone and rotating. Okay, what you might want to do is turn the phone on its side first, then go to Twitch full screen and see if that works. Yeah, I imagine some of them would be like, oh, it's one of those situations. Okay, we got you. In that case, what you might want to do. Yeah, try restarting your phone. That works too. Yeah, part of my problem is that I don't have a phone worth a damn in terms of using it to stream Discord, or not Discord, but Twitch. So I don't usually have that problem. let's go ahead and get rid of these real quick. You get that. Okay, cool. What I'm going to do is replace the 2 camps that I have. The fact that they're showing up on your cluster is the fun part. Hey, what's up, Spectre? Oh wait, no, that's not.
Inventory full.
It's fine. Yay! I need. Where'd the center go? Wow. That's actually kind of impressive that they got their asses handed to them that quickly in Star Citizen, though not surprising.
Inventory full. Inventory full.
If there's one thing that Star Citizen is very good at, it is demonstrating that if you're not prepared, you ain't shit. Now, also at the same time, the people that they would be going up against have, at this point, hundreds, if not thousands of hours of dogfighting experience. Well, it would. But, and here is the big issue and why right now is not a good time for goons. The biggest issue is that, as you mentioned, the swarm mentality is typically what goons go with. Now, a swarm is actually the best thing that you can do in Star Citizen. The problem, however, is what ship you bring to that swarm. The meta for what ship to use is constantly changing so rapidly compared to Eve that you can't just easily drop something out and then go to work. And so the biggest issue that they are going to face overall is simply Star Citizen itself. Star Citizen is going to be their biggest opponent because right now it is so constantly in flux that there's no easy way to just, this is what works, we use it all the time. That's the other problem. So really, at the end of the day, the biggest issue that goons are going to face is just the game that they're in. Eve made it easy for them to get a foothold because Eve was designed like that. Eve was also designed by actual decent programmers. And by the time that goons got invested in it, there was already a lot of really good infrastructure in place for larger groups to be formed with enough time and effort. But right now, Star Citizen doesn't have that. Star Citizen barely has its own actual identity, unfortunately. Star Citizen, yes. Eve, no. And the only reason why I say Eve, no, is because people who play Eve are a very specific type of person. People who play Eve because it's the only game like it. And it scratches a very specific itch that no other game comes close to. Period. The only thing that would ever be competition for Eve is another Eve. Yeah, pretty much. So it's one of those that I think they could make a good game, yes. But I don't think Egosoft would be able to compete with Eve because the scale of Eve it's immense. Like, Elite Dangerous kind of tried to compete against Eve, but even that wasn't capable of really going toe to toe. And it's just because Eve is so big. Eve is a lot bigger than most people realize. Well, not quite as much as it used to, but definitely close. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we'll try and finish that one. But that being said, a lot of the games that are coming out these days are... I went the wrong way. Actually, no, that's fine. Because this way also works. One of the problems with a lot of the space games, and specifically this is also an issue with Star Citizen, is that they are trying too hard to be every game in one. Star Citizen is trying way too hard to be the only space game that you will ever need again. Yes, that is another good point there, Spectre, is we're kind of tired of the traditional MMO. We're looking for one that will grip us without being the normal MMO. And especially because the normal MMO these days, yeah, that's true. And that's probably why Dune's popularity was so huge initially. But I think overall, the biggest issue that we're running into is just people are tired of being piggy banks all the time and getting very little out of it. Let's grab that proper. I don't know. With Funcom, it's always a wait and see. It would be nice, but let's be realistic. They don't exactly have the greatest of track records. They get lucky more than they deserve sometimes. They have and they haven't. All right, I want And then you need to be, what's your radius? 75. Or ejection assist on. Okay. Honestly, at this point in time, what I am looking for in a game, and what I'm looking for in a space game, and this is the frustrating part. Star Citizen was heading down a direction that I was really starting to get into. Camp is a mod. It is part, well, so there, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but there was a set of mods called Build and Repair. BNR, or Bob was the other one that it was called, where it was basically a wireless welder. But the problem with Build and Repair is that it's old and it's been patched and rebuilt and repatched so many times that it is a major issue. So Crimson, who had worked on a version of Build and Repair, went through and just rebuilt the whole thing from scratch, built his own version called Camp. And it is much lighter weight. It works incredibly well. Oh, hey, thank you for the follow there, GTA Race. Much appreciated. But all in all, having used Bob now for a couple of months, I 100% love it. I prefer it. Hey, what's up, Hollows? And just all in all, Camp is, I would say, the superior product. Yeah, in fact, let me get you the thing for it. This is for Camp. Super useful. Okay, so working on you. And we'll get all of this. I love the fact that you don't have to have all the parts for it to work. Just most of the parts. Oh wow, we're also going to get the superconductors. Awesome. Let's see. Clean up around this one. Awesome. There we go. Those are now all done. I can now switch you to that. At this point in time, I am done with Star Citizen. I am done with Star Citizen because right now, they're not. Right now, Star Citizen is just sitting there doing nothing important. They have had 12 years to actually become a game that is worth playing. And out of all of it, it progressed. It got to a point, and then it just sits there stagnating. And they keep coming out with these new events. And they always say, well, the events are helping us gather data. How much more damn data do you need? How much more data do you honestly need to tell yourselves that you're not doing a good job at making a game? Like, I am well aware that developing games is hard. And when you start complicating that with additional systems, it just gets harder. But there are so many things that the players are actually asking for that they are not working on, that they consistently go, well, we can't do that right now because of this reason, or we can't do that right now because of that, or we're just waiting for this bit of tech to come out. Why? Why are you waiting for bits of tech that aren't available right now so that you can keep pushing forward with a game that needs to be, well, a game? And that's one of the biggest things, is that they are currently getting beaten by independent projects that have been out for a fraction of the time, that are doing way more than they currently do. And I love Star Citizen. There's currently no game out there that is as immersive in the Star Sim genre than Star Citizen. X4 is great. Elite Dangerous is great. But none of them are as good as Star Citizen is, which is what hurts the most with their current situation. 75. All. Oh yeah, I need to set you to all as well. And yeah, see, and you bring that up, and I brought it up as well. Chris Roberts has lots of great ideas. Chris Roberts is an amazing visionary. But the problem is that he never has somebody at his side to help balance out that vision. The person he has at his side is his wife. And his wife just goes, yeah, we can make more money doing that. If you've ever seen any interviews with the two of them, he's very definitely the nerd who wants to do all the really cool stuff, and he wants to make the amazing game. And his wife always seems like the person who is just like, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that because that'll make us more money. Now, I don't know if that's the actual dynamic. I don't know if that's actually how they are. But he has always consistently had really great ideas and nobody there to tell him to calm the fuck down. And so what winds up happening is he builds these really awesome things that keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then they reach a scope where they can't come back from that. And nobody's going to sit there and tell him, no, we can't do that, or no, we shouldn't do that. They're just going to be like, sure, we'll do what we can. You are grind before weld. Projection assist on. Awesome. And so at the end of the day, hey, thank you for the follow there, Carbon. Much appreciated. But at the end of the day, you wind up with a situation where you've got lots of grand ideas, but they've gone nowhere. Turn off. Off. Not yellow, red. I bet my camps There we go. Get rid of that. I'll be damned. Look at that. We're getting some stuff done. I 100% want Star Citizen. Yeah, they are. But I 100% want Star Citizen to succeed as a game because what is there and what works is really cool and really good. But the reality is that the person in charge is not leading it in a direction where it can succeed the most. They had every opportunity to be able to push this in a direction that was actually going to make it super awesome and succeed in the ways that it needed to. And instead, nothing. Instead, here we are. In fact, I've been following the latest event, and it's another clusterfuck. It's another huge issue. The same way it is always a huge issue. It's like the developers are trying to gather data, and then they gather a whole bunch of data and go, okay, well, now that I've got it, let's just throw it out because we're not going to look at any of it. The issue right now, and this is something that they complain about with every single one of these types of events, where you have to go out and gather stuff and then turn it in, is that there's always a bottleneck every time. And the bottleneck usually comes down to the fact that you have to sit there and queue up to turn something in or pick something up. And so players consistently complain. We're tired of queuing. We're tired of being stuck in line waiting for this thing to happen. So what do? They make a damn event where you still have to queue up to turn stuff in. There's only one drop-off point for each of the locations. One. And it doesn't always work. That's the worst part. Every time they have an opportunity to actually do something correctly, yeah. Like, at this point in time, Star Citizen is the most quintessentially British game that there ever was. And I think that's part of the problem. All right, I need steel plate. Interior plate. There we go. Okay. That, and then there we go. But at the end of the day, the best we can do is just watch as either the ship sinks or somehow they manage to actually get it right and do something with it. I have a feeling, though, because next year is when Squadron 42 is supposed to release again. We're going to hear at the beginning of next year, or several months into it, that Squadron 42 has been delayed again. And if that's the case, I can almost guarantee that 80% of the player base is going to drop, period. Because a lot of people really are waiting to see what happens with Squadron 42. A lot of people are looking forward to it. And if they can't materialize the game, then that's going to alert people to the fact that they don't have anything to work with, or very little. They probably are just running on a bunch of 3D renders, hoping that nobody's really going to pay too much attention to the smoke and the mirrors. And then I think that'll also be kind of the end of the idea of Cloud Imperium and their projects. I hope I'm wrong. I really, really do. I hope it doesn't come down to that. But so far, their track record is not very good. Let's grab you. You are assembler 2. And sure, cool. We clear that. Now, one of the other games that is on the horizon is an indie title called Kanga, Qanga, and that one is actually looking okay. It's get a little bit of mixed reviews. Some people are unhappy with it. They feel like it's another vaporware sort of situation. But it looks and feels, from what I've seen, a little bit like Star Citizen. How is it? Like, as far as the game goes, how is it? Since you're saying you played it there, Spectre. And I need to move my chat. I just realized a lot of it is over top of stream chat. There we go. Gotcha. Yeah, that's, from what I understood, that's kind of the direction that it's at, is that it's okay. It just needs a lot of work. Gotcha. You know, in all fairness, I would much rather a game need a little bit of work than not have anything going for it. And then you actually need to go the other way. There we go. That way the two rotors are spinning against each other, not with each other. There we go. So now we've got 2 assemblers, we've got 4 refineries, we've got our camps moved. The next step is really just going to be awesome. I haven't had a chance to play that, but I've definitely been watching it. I've been trying to keep up with some of the updates that have been coming out for it, and absolutely looking forward to it as a game. Because that's one thing that I've always wanted, and that was one thing that I was really digging about Star Citizen, was that feeling of having your own ship. You know, that almost Star Trek or Firefly kind of feeling. Being able to walk around inside of it, being able to feel like you owned it, that sort of thing. With a little bit more granularity than Star Citizen, or not, Space Engineers offers. All right, what I'm thinking I'm going to do on this, just to change. Nice. But for this, I think what I'm going to do is, it's not going to be very deep, but I am going to go ahead and run cargo down here and make this the spot for the large cargo containers. So I'm probably just going to do maybe like 4 deep, because these are the cargo containers are 3x3. If I do 4 or 5 deep, then what I can do is set it up so that if I set it to be 4 or 5 deep, then I can actually go ahead and I can do conveyors on the back sides of them, which would look kind of cool. Yeah. So let's go grab puncture here, because I think that's going to work a little bit better. Do you have anything in you? You still have iron. Why do you not pull all of that out? It's the clean a bunch of this up. And like I said, probably only going to go about 3 or 4 blocks back. It's a little bit too far. Now, one game that I'm actually pleasantly surprised by, and I was playing it yesterday on stream, is Soulframe. Actually getting a chance to get my hands on that. That is really turning out to be a decent game. It still needs some work, and they really need to revise their ability to explain what shit does in that game or what it means. But I think overall it has a good chance of being a good sort of light RPG light sort of game. I don't know. It's so hard kind of defining the genres anymore because there's so much overlap between all of them all the time. But I think in general, it's a good game. It's got some good mechanics. Looks gorgeous. The storytelling is interesting as well. One of the things that I noticed about it specifically was that if you look at Warframe very definitely is a game designed around more Asian themes. A lot of the words sound like they are specifically taken from Japanese, Chinese, Korean, that sort of thing. You know, a lot of Asian influences within the game. However, with Soulframe, a lot of the story elements, a lot of the design philosophy feels very Anglo-Saxon. Lots of words that sound like they have Gaelic ancestry, which I think is really cool. I like the fact that they are going with something that is a little bit more Eurocentric. It's like, you know, that to me is what can make for a really good sci-fi game, is that you are using real life stuff as your basis and then building off of that. And that's pretty cool. Okay, let's see how deep this is. Should be pretty good there. or at least deep enough. Five. That is perfect. Yeah, I haven't played a proper Heroes of Might and Magic in a long time. I think the last one that I really played was a much older Heroes of Might and Magic 2, maybe. And then, of course, there was also Heroes Hour. I played that a bit. That's a fun game. Although I played the demo version of it, not the actual full release. I am so-so on the Expanse, and the only reason why I'm kind of so-so on it is simply because of the fact that it feels like they're kind of going the Mass Effect route with it, which isn't necessarily bad. And I'm really excited to see more of the Expanse universe being explored. But part of what I loved about the Expanse was that it adhered to a certain level of science reality. I've actually got quite a big beard, thank you very much, asshole. But yeah, I'm also not so much of a hidden dwarf. But with the Expanse Osiris Reborn that I'm seeing, it looks like it's a little bit more gamified, which is fine. You're gonna have to. You're probably right about that one, Wrath. But from what I've seen, it looks like it has some of the standard gaming tropes for like weapons and abilities and whatnot. And so I'm not quite as excited about it. Doesn't mean it won't be a good game. It just means that I'm not excited for it like others. And that's fine. You don't have to excite me for every game. I'm not always the target audience. In fact, I mean, honestly, Dune just barely comes in as one of those games that I absolutely love. 2, 3, 4, 5. Absolutely. I think it's one of those that, you know, if every game conformed to what everybody wanted, all of the games in the world would be boring as shit. So, thank God that there are differences. .NET. Huh. That's interesting. Unfortunately, I haven't really diagnosed computer repair in a long time, so...
Inventory full.
Aha. So I don't know. Best thing that I can recommend is just look up on Google to see what Google says. Huh. Yeah, you're having some issues there, bud. Sorry to say. All right, let's do not those. Well, actually, yeah, I could do these. Do those two there. These two here. Yeah, unfortunately. still waiting for something. What are you waiting for? Everything. No, no spinning cargo containers this time. I might do that next time. But unfortunately, because of the fact that I've got to get this stuff moved, I'll worry about that later. Plus, I'm going to be stacking a lot of them. So spinning them doesn't make as much sense. But I might do that on a different build. We'll see. All right. I do, however, need to go grab. Actually, I need to. Let's get. What components do I have here? So I need more of you. Damn. And you absolutely, positively need all of the iron plates right now. Let's make some more of those, and those, and those, and those. Yeah, good Lord. This is why it's fun to put speed modules on assemblers. Some there. And yeah. Because I need to get back underground. Actually, what I need to do is paint that yellow. I need actually paint you green. Oh, I don't doubt it. Jesus. Like, that's the only problem with heavy armor is just how much work it takes. And the level of resources required from it or for it. Oh, is that all? just a tiny little amount. And my camps are not centered, and this makes me sad. Oh, whoops. Small problem. Sort of a small problem. I need some of you and some of you. E-junction. Well, that's just it. The way that parts are going to work in SE2 are definitely going to be vastly different. What I'm curious about, because we've only had creative mode so far, but I'm curious as to how the construction process itself is going to work. Now, from what I have heard, and I'm not 100% on this, I could be way off, but from what I understand is that you will be placing down blueprints or blueprint blocks, not the scaffolding blocks like we're used to. And so that way you kind of build out the thing with blueprints and then start welding it up. That's kind of from what I understand. Again, I could be way off on that. But it's one of those we'll have to, wait and see. Yeah. Which I'm actually okay with. I am fine with doing it like that. Honestly, working with a similar system in Dune Awakening, I've gotten kind of used to the idea of putting out sort of a ghost first, and then building the actual blocks as I go. So I'm okay with that because as a system, it works out fairly well. This is going to be painful. Ish, maybe? Like, that's one thing that I will give props to Dune Awakening for, is that their base construction system, while slightly rudimentary, does work incredibly well for the game. Like, it's surprisingly easy to make decent bases without a whole lot of guesswork. Oh, don't even worry about it, man. A lot of us are American and our English still sucks. So here we go. It's okay, awesome. So I have reached the edge here. Honestly, at this point, and I think this is funny, but I think really Americans do speak American. And especially as we get more and more detached from the British. Even though the British speak English and Americans speak English, there is enough difference between the two that they are starting to become their own languages in a way. Almost very similar to the way that you have American English and then you have African American Vernacular, or AAV, which is stupid, but whatever. Oh God. The alien speech has started. We're doomed. Go. Okay. And That's a little lower than I need to be, but that's okay. That is, that is one thing that surprised me when I started streaming Space Engineers more frequently than the other games in my repertoire. That's a French word. But it was the number of Europeans that tend to watch this game versus a lot of the other countries. That was one thing that I never really anticipated. Europeans, Scandinavians, that side of the world, you know what I mean. Let's see how close I am. Getting closer to puncture, so that's good. But I think it also has to do with the fact that the reach for Space Engineers is as wide as it is in terms of the people that like it. Because there are a lot of games that are very definitely like, this is an American game. And then there are games that are like, this is definitely a European game. And so on and so forth. And so it's just kind of cool to see the global crossover that some games have. You there yet? Yeah, thanks. Unfortunately, English is the only language I know. Shut the fuck up, guitar. Also, hey, buddy, how you doing? Oh, good, we're almost there. Need. Ah, not fair. Actually, you need to get replaced with that, and then a junction. Yeah, so that way I can also go ahead. Hey, what's up, Grumpy? Food is actually a good idea. Might have to grab some of that myself, like proper food. That feels like it's a little bit off. And should be coming up here at some point. There we are. Aha. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was a little bit off here, but that's okay. We'll just clear this out somewhat. And a little bit more. Just gotta make my hole bigger. And go. Oh, nice. Yeah, I went ahead and I splurged a little bit and I made myself the body portion of the Chom still suit. But we have, I know, right? We have ridiculous amounts of plastanium. Last I checked, we were almost at almost 800 plastanium. The only thing that we need is spice at this point. But once, I might switch over to Dune a little bit later. I might not, and I'll just do it later anyway. But I already have an idea of what I'm going to do as far as the build. And essentially what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to put down the advanced fife. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put down the advanced sub fife. And then I've already got 3 claim stakes set up as well as a vertical. So that way I can do a 2x2 square for our base in terms of area. Just get that out of the way. And then I can start building the base properly and get it all set up. So that's what I'm thinking of doing in terms of the construction of the new deep desert base. That's the best way to stay out of trouble, or more specifically, staying out of prison. There we go. Okay, so now that I've got that all drilled out, let's do this. That's the wrong one. Up and away. Then I can do the junction here. Here. That and that. And there and there. And there we go. So that. Awesome. All right. Now, what I'm thinking I might do as a temporary solution for what I want to do is actually, nope, idea. Because I'm smart. Just don't tell anybody. Because we're going to go ahead and turn off Izzy's. Control panel, large cargo. We're going to turn that off. We're going to turn that. You get to be LCC ores ingots. You are LCC components. You are LCC tools. Now we turn this back on. Excellent. You go away. You go away. Awesome. Alrighty. So that takes care of those. I need to get rid of you. What's in here? Ah, control panel. That goes away. That goes away. What's in you? Ah. This also needs to go away. Why would you have that? Wait for this to empty out. Okay, and then all of these little containers that I had, so adorable. And then finally, okay, I'll take a look at that here in a second. Make sure that goes away. Awesome. That cleans up the majority of that. You can go away. Alrighty. Hey, you know, as long as you love what you're looking at, that's all that matters. Okay, yeah, I can see why you like that. Yeah, hold on a second, because that is... I always love it when people do cool things with their lighting. And that is a cool thing. That really is impressive. Like, that's the kind of picture that you would use as a screenshot for something. But that is awesome. Yep. A lot of thrusters too, good lord. If that doesn't get you into space, nothing will. But good job there, looks great. Okay. Next up, I need to redo this. A little bit. Okay, give me a second here. Apparently that content is no longer available. What you can also do, if you're interested, is to go ahead and join the community Discord. And then I specifically have a channel. I have two channels. One for space engineers, and then also one for screenshots. So if you wanted to go ahead and throw those on there, you could do that as well. And then that way we can take a look at them. Well, the community can look at them whenever, but also if you just wanted to have them somewhere else as well, there is that option. But I need... Let's see, let's remove this and this.
Inventory full.
There we go. I want that, and then we will use the armored conveyor tube here. And all right. Well, if Automod picks it up. All right. Do that, because that actually looks like that would fit there. There's that. And then if you're not sure, you throw it up on the Discord server, and we'll I'll take a look at it real quick and then go from there. The three-way junction. There we go. Though actually, I might be replacing that at some point as well, so. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever you want to do, man. Okay, I will leave that in place for now because I don't need it to be anywhere else. We will put you there. That, and then I need the junction. Oh, okay, yeah, that's you could go ahead and put that up, that's fine. If people are offended by that, that's on them. Man, that is funny though. Okay. Yeah, no, like I said, that one's fine. That is not even the worst thing we've ever said here, so we play a little fast and loose with the TOS sometimes. All right. Speaking of fast and loose, look at this entrance here. Why is that under 50% so quickly? I need to work on getting some proper power going here. Specifically, let's still have a ton of uranium that I'm going through. I suppose what I could do is, for the time being, set up a small reactor here. Let's grab some of that. And just get those parts made. Oh, damn. Do I not have silver? I do not have any silver, and I have very little gold. So let's go fix that, shall we? Oh, but I also have nowhere to dock this ship right now. Okay, awesome. Ooh. Love the flag design. Give me a second here and we'll get this pulled up. Huge. Said main screen. Thank you. There we go. But there we go. That's the ship. That is a heck of a ship. Good design overall. I really like that. I mean, that absolutely ought to get the job done. And if it doesn't, then obviously the job was never meant to be done in the first place. But yeah, that looks nice. Good job on that. Yeah, anytime in the future, if you feel like you want to show off some stuff to the community, feel free to drop the screenshots in the Discord. We actually got quite a few accomplished builders that are part of the community. They absolutely love looking at all that sort of stuff. I need interior plate as well. Let's do that, then that, and then finally that. There we go. Jesus. That's because, Kintar, you're my brother, and so by law, I'm not allowed to be nice. Ever. It's just the way it is. Sorry, man. I don't make the rules. Okay, there we go. Ow. But I now have a place to park puncture. I'm going to have to move at some point the... I need to move the batteries. Worry about that here in a little bit. Holy crap. Now, where is that hole? That's what she said. There goes some silver. I thought I had picked up... I thought I had a hole over here. Is this it? No. Huh. I guess I don't have a hole for that yet. Just build better stuff. Absolutely. There we go. And we'll come down a bit, and then we'll head for the silver. Silver. There we go. I've been contemplating making a wider version of puncture. Hell, maybe even just setting up the drills on puncture, like setting up these drills the same way that I had the regular drills, where it was like 2 top, 2 bottom, and then 2 sides. That would be an absolutely ginormous hole after that. Where's the silver? Almost there. There it is. Let's start getting this. Nice thing is that I don't need a huge amount. I just need an amount. Huh. I should probably make the bottom of this hole a little bit deeper. Yeah, actually, that works out much better. There we go. We are currently drilling for silver. Yeah, that is a little bit awkward. I have had that happen once or twice. There we go. Get some space here as I smack the drills into everything. Open this up a bit more. Clear this out. Probably. I actually do have some pretty large drills that I could add. A couple that are like the big giant iron strip mining drills that they have. The ones that are like giant wheels that have buckets on them that they use for just strip mining entire chunks of the landscape. Like, I really don't want that mountain to be there anymore, so we're just going to use that drill to make it go away. Let's... Okay, I did. That's possible. I don't know. I haven't seen any of his stuff in a while. I haven't, like, YouTube hasn't been showing it. Oh, I imagine quite a few people have tried it over the years. It's one of those things like, we gotta try it. It's, you know, like one of the Earth-like planets, I think, like one of the largest planets at the 120 kilometer range might be a bit too much. But I think a smaller planet or a moon would probably be a little bit easier. I have used drill and fill before, but just in general, I didn't like using it. I much prefer using regular drills. There we go. Hopefully. Oh, goody. Oh. No. I should have some gravel. Okay, well, it's making what I need it to, so that's all that matters. Should be able to finish that up once it gets the last reactors done, and then everybody will be happy, and then I will have a reactor on the base. There it goes. Awesome. And then it's going to go ahead, and there we go. I now have power. So the next step is I need a location for some batteries, and I'm thinking this wall might not be a bad place for them. We can go ahead and get some in here. I think the biggest thing is just getting the power cells I need. Let's do what? That'll work. Yes, that's true. If you absolutely need to remove something in a very specific size and shape, drill and fill is actually really good for that. In fact, it would be really good for drilling out these bays instead of doing it manually like I have been. But I kind of like the drilling, so it's one of those, I put up with it. There we go. Now, the next issue that I'm going to run into is attempting to get battery. Well, okay, so what? A little bit. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to discharge charge mode, discharge. And actually this one, discharge that as well. And set you to recharge. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to drain the other 2 batteries, and then we're just going to go ahead and grind them down. It'll be a slight loss because obviously the power cells I'm not going to get back, but that's okay. I don't necessarily need them right now. The other thing is I don't have a permanent location yet for the computers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the programmable block that is always a nice option to have. Okay, so I'm going to get this ground down here. We are going to set you to a PB. I am. Browse scripts. Is use inventory management. Okay. There we go. You know what? That is going to take way too long to discharge those. So, goodbye. Your recharge mode is now auto. There we go. And we are all set. We now have go all of this area cleaned out, cleaned up, freed up. Thank you. It is definitely a work in progress. But we are all set here, looking much nicer and prepped for for being able to put in a rover. If you talk to the writer guy, or not, is it him specifically or the book? Yeah, talk to him. You can look through all of the stuff. Nice. But if you talk to him, look through all of the stuff, you'll get one as a reward. I also happened to pick one up doing one of the, I think it was one of the side jobs. I don't know. Or one of the dungeons. But then when you go to add the moat in the Nightfold, go to your inventory options, where you go to customize your inventory, and right click on your weapon. And that will allow you to add a moat to your weapon or to your pact. And the pact is the second one. So if you get, I don't remember what the name of it was, but double check both of those. It is a little, again, it's a system that they don't tell you about. It's just one of those, like, good luck. There we go. Actually, you know, I kind of like that green. I don't usually like green, but I think I might use it on this. Kind of like that. Yeah. Then we do this one. How do you look in green? You actually look pretty good in green. Yeah, I like that. Again, generally, I don't like the color green in this particular case, but I don't know what it is. This base just feels good with green. I guess because it's not a bright green, but it's a darker green, it actually looks a little bit better. And using it as kind of an accent color as opposed to everything is green. That should work a bit better. I'll just mess around with stuff later. So, yeah. Now this is going to be the fun part. Is I think I want this whole floor to be green. Yes, I do. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Then we'll use this light gray as the primary accent in the rest of the base. Yes. I like that. We'll also do this out here as gray, or excuse me, as green. I think I have a mossy version. Yeah. Now that's one thing that I'm also really looking forward to when it comes to Space Engineers 2, is being able to do our own textures will be amazing, because I can just imagine how awesome it's going to be to do. Let's check that out. Not too bad, but it'll be awesome to take one of our favorite textures, let's say like battered, and then be able to edit it so that we can do awesome things like add moss to it, or snow, or ice, so that way it blends in better to our builds, as opposed to some of the harsh differences between textures that we wind up with. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. We'll take that. And we'll switch back to battered and our light gray. And there we go. I am a wee bit on the hungry side. Also, you know, I think I'm just going to leave the drill head here for now, but I definitely want to put let's do angled floodlights. There and there. Yeah, there we go. That's true. Although I'm not too worried, since it is single player, if they spot the base, they were going to anyway. That's why the front of the base has so many guns on it. Or at least kind of has so many guns on it. But now that I have the reactor on there, let's get rid of this. That. Get that in there. And production, I need some of you. Oh, those are already welded up. Never mind. There we go. Awesome. And then I also want to might have to come in from underneath to get at this. Or to get most of it. I want to go ahead and try and... Oh. I can't place nothing if I have nothing to place with. Get me more of those. Yeah, that would be nice. But yeah, like I'm just super excited for what Space Engineers 2 will bring to the table and how it's going to change the way that we get to play this amazing game. And you are what, 2? Yes. Now we are starting to look good. Let's kind of get... There we go. Needed to get a screenshot for the VOD when I upload it later. Which I've been so lazy on doing that. It's been ridiculous. But I think I am going to wrap up the Space Engineers portion of the stream today. And I kind of want to jump over to Dune so that way I can start working on that base. Yet another base to work on. But there we go. So far, so good. Actually, you know what? I think I may... Oh, holy crap. Yeah. Actually, I think I'm just going to wrap up for today, period. And because I'm getting hungry. It's a little sore from all the coughing. So yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Not the full 4 hours like I usually like to do, but we're close enough. And then tomorrow, what we can start working on is probably getting some of the vehicle bay done, so that way I can actually go ahead and get puncture locked in properly, as well as oops, and then the escape pod. The lifter is basically what it's become. And then we can also work on getting more of the internal space in here sort of set aside. Maybe also getting some of this worked out a little bit better. Go ahead and get the other two in here and finish off this room. And then maybe see about... I don't know if I'm going to do the full 8 or if I'm just going to leave this as 4. Right, I might do spinning cargo later, but for right now, there's just not much reason for it. If I do spinning cargo, I might go ahead and do the small cargo containers instead. Just because I think that would probably work a little bit better. But, you know, if I do that, it'll be in a different section of the base. Other than that, though, I think that's going to go ahead and be it for today. Definitely got a lot of work done. Finally got this sorted out. The other thing is also maybe tomorrow starting work on a rover. One of the other things that I want to do is get more of this floor put in. So there's a lot of little things that need to be done around the base to just kind of finish up this section and get us into a point where we're kind of ready to tackle bigger projects again. But yeah, I like the way that this is panning out. We're getting some stuff done. Things are getting put together, and it's actually starting to look pretty good. Other than that, though, that is going to be it for today. As always, thank you all for joining me on these misadventures. So glad to have you guys along for the ride. You all have a wonderful day. Stay out of trouble. And remember, if you get caught, I don't know you. I will catch you guys tomorrow.